Welcome to Parenting and Presence. Today with us, we have an exciting guest. One of the guests I have been waiting for hosting in my podcast, Mrs. Shanmuga Priya, founder and principal of Vyas School in Udumalpet. Vyas is an Waldorf inspired school, and one such place I just dreamt of having in India, and I was so pleased to be at her school last year the same time, and I'm so happy to host her for the interview. And Mrs. Shanmuga Priya will share us about what Waldorf education is, how did it evolve, and how important is it to have such kind of an holistic development for our children. Thank you and welcome to the show, Mrs. Shanmuga Priya.
A very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Krutika, for hosting me for your channel. And I can remember her coming with so much of joy and so much of rush with this short span of time. She visited our school, and I could remember the conversations we had. I take great privilege for you to host me for this session.
Thank you so much, and let's dive into the session because we have a lot of things to address here. So, coming to the first question, what is Waldorf education all about, and how did Rudolf Steiner create this model?
So Rudolf Steiner was actually a philanthropist, and he was into a theosophical society, and then he just stepped out of the theosophy movement and he started anthroposophical movement or society. It's just anthroposophy means a study of human being, a complete study of human being. And on that process, he was actually dwelling into medicines, anthroposophical. So in anthroposophy, there were lot of learnings which happened, and he was involved in inventing medicines. So anthroposophical medicine is one category where so he and a team of doctors were into many or a few cancer patients. Many doctors were dwelling and they were investigating the biographies. And he is a founder of biodynamic farming, and on this streamline he used to, when people asked questions about education, he used to talk a lot about education. And there was one of his friend who had a cigarette factory. I couldn't remember the correct I couldn't spell what his name is. The It was Waldorf cigarette factory. Okay. And during the law time, the labor children did not have did not go for education there. So he requested Steiner to start a kindergarten for the labor children, and the first Waldorf kindergarten was started with the name of his friend who gave the space, and it is Waldorf cigarette factory. So now Steiner schools are globally called as Waldorf schools, just because his friend first initiated to start for his labor, for his working parents whose children were not able to step into the school because of war. So that's how it was started, and it went through a lot of process. It had a lot of stagnance throughout the global scenario, and now it has taken its reformation to just, it has already sprouted and the branches are now widespread all over the world. This is
Thank you so much for the brief introduction about how Waldorf education or how the system started. So, could you please share your journey on how you got into Waldorf education?
Yes, I was actually I had a deep passion of teaching from my childhood. And after my marriage, I had my two children, and I stepped in for my child's education. And I went into I joined her in an ordinary school, and there came a Montessori school into our small town called Udumalpet. And I wanted that school to emerge in our town, because one alternate system should be there in the town, and I want my children to get educated there. So there were three children who were the first classes. There was LKG. So unknowingly I then put down, she was to actually go to UKG, because of this school, I made her to join in LKG, and with 3 children, she finished her primary schools there. And I went into that environment with my son as a pre-KG teacher, and I evolved there with a lot of uh, beautiful learnings. And then afterwards, when I wanted to start at a small kindergarten in my home, and after when I started, I came to know about this system, and I was so fascinated to see how unknowingly I was working with the same philosophies, um, unconsciously. And so I was very eager to learn why and what. And I went into the deep research, and that's how this Vedavyas Waldorf inspired school has sprouted its journey.
So beautiful to hear your journey. I could just recollect the memories when I was personally, meeting you and when you shared this journey. Thank you so much for sharing that. And coming to the next question, Steiner talks a lot about, the birthing process. And when a student is entering into the Waldorf school, the interview question would be for the parents is like, share about your pregnancy and birthing process.
Yes.
What is the inference it has got to do with the education and the child development?
So there is a lot which actually resonates with what Steiner speaks, and what the Tamil culture speaks, and what the Indian philosophy or all over there speaks. So he says, when the child really wants to enter an environment, a spiritual embryo, Montessori also, like she says, that a spiritual embryo is already formed before the physical embryo is formed. And that's what Steiner really, uh, he is really wanting an educator or a parent to understand that the child, before coming into this earthly world, has a lot of experiences which is taking from the spiritual world. So spiritual world is what he connotes as higher world. The children come from a very higher world with lot of spiritual instincts. So they come to a space to bring those those learnings, and they come into a space to learn this earthly life, and to also bring down all the spiritual experiences and give it for the space around whom they are actually dealing with, specifically between the ages 0 to 7. So it's a very uh, very have to tell, it's a very sacred thing which we have to really learn when you before receiving the child into the space, and how after before even receiving, we have to really learn how actually we can prepare ourselves to really move into this 0 to 7 year journey. So already that uh, that bed should be actually prepared. Children come preparing their beds ready into the space, and they bring a lot of changes after they come into the space. And and we can very fairly see how we can only teach very few things for children into the earthly life, and they bring a lot of things which actually remove from many relationship, move away from the space before the children are born. And after the children, there is another few people who enter into the space. So many things, unwanted things, move away. It's not only for that space where the children want to grow, they actually grow in a space what they really want for to grow. And one thing of pregnancy, childhood, we can take that way. And we can also see how our, so he says, Steiner says, like how a Saiva tradition, or the, there are there are lives, many births and rebirths. So there is a principle which goes with that. And there is another principle even in the Hindu tradition where Vedantari Maharishi talks, that he says there is no rebirth. Okay. So even if both are considered, karma, what we speak about karma and what Steiner speaks, all has a very close coherence. And the children between 0 to 7, how we have to grow is a very beautiful thing which we can learn after death and before birth. Experiences are very, very strongly spoken in a very practical terms, not in a very mystical way or in a very, it's not always in a fantasy type, right? Very practically, we can see how those after death and before birth are very coordinately connected.
So wonderful. So here I have a question, like if a pregnant woman or a pregnant couple asks you, like if like we are so into this Waldorf pedagogy, we are curious about it, and now that we are pregnant, what are all the basic things that are very practical that we could follow in our everyday life for enhancing the soul's journey of our child? Could you share some tips and tricks for the pregnant people?
So it's not about one single journey, it's a common journey which we can see. Only thing it's that if you want to speak as parents, we are only we should only we should only develop the capacity to receive. Yes, we should only develop the capacity to receive, nothing else we can do for ourselves. So already before, even as when the child is born, when there is there is the hierarchies which are embedded in that that children. Yes, the, each and every child who wants to come into the womb and be born into that space, no, already the package between the cosmic world and the child is is there on a very pure pattern. The few months of carrying and the few years of growing with us, for that, if you like how we clean the bed in the morning, the same bedspread for a week or 3 4 days, but we take away the shrinks and keep it ready for the next night's sleep, and we take away, no, same way. It's just to clear up the space of what unwanted things should not be, what ought not to be done, and what can be done better than before. So it's not it's not like a tonic offering, it's not like a therapy, no, it's a very deep learning for each mother or parent. So in Tamil we call parenting as, we call parents, there is a word called petrol. Yes, and the word means to receive. A person who receives is called, you call a person who receive. A parent is one who receives the gifts which are given by the higher world. So that's what I can talk.
Beautifully said, and I have never thought about this meaning of petrol. I think it means a lot. Like they say that Tamil is one of the language that has, and you can take it in two meanings with the language. வெளியில இருந்து பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு அர்த்தம் இருக்கும், அதே வார்த்தையை நம்ம உள்வாங்கி பார்க்கும் பொழுது இன்னொரு அர்த்தம் இருக்கும் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி இந்த பெற்றோர் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு இப்படி ஒரு மீனிங் நான் வந்து யோசிச்சதே இல்லை. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச் ஃபார் ஷேரிங் தட்.
So you receive the child. The first, the child when it's born, who's receiving the child? The father, and the mother is the one who's going to receive it. So that's one of the things.
So beautiful. So coming to the next question about the milestones.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of milestones with which the child should be educated, or there are, like, based on the milestones the information should be given to the child is what Steiner says. So can you share about those important milestones and what should be given and what should not be given?
So when I learned about the milestones and when I dwelt, I will just tell what Steiner spoke is there and how it resonated with me, and what what went inside me. I will just bring forth.
Sure.
He talks about the period 0 to 7, 7 to 14, and 14 to 21. He speaks strongly on these three phases. But when we think, talking with Steiner, when we observe a human being and we find how the human being changes from the child when he's taken as an infant in the hand and he's learning to walk with the grandfather or father, He's walking into the playpen. And then afterwards, what happens? He grows. After first year, he walks, he runs, he moves, he speaks, he sings, he hears stories. Everything happens. And then suddenly, what happens? Everything, something all which is not very like creeping, crawling, walking is main thing what we see. And after that, between 0 to 7, there is growth which is happening. They fall sick. Then something all happens between 0 to 7, and then the milk tooth starts to fall. That's what we observe. Then the process happens. They change their, the faces change their, something they change over. Then for the girls, little 9 years, little breast they grow, and then for boys it's something else. And puberty, then girls are matured and boys have beard on their faces. Then there is the larynx, the throat breaks for the boys, and there is something else which happens in the other sexual regions also. So this is what we can see. But what happens at 21, and all that is also unseen. It's, we can't see what Steiner speaks. When we see these things, there is what, when we see all these things and when we really separate that 0 to 7, before the fall of teeth, there is something else which has to be given. And before puberty, there is something else which has to be given. And before 21, that is where we can't see like how puberty or change of teeth happens. That cannot be seen, because there, what Steiner says, that it's the freedom of ego. So that is the point where we can't see those things, but that is always in the unseen, and we have to believe and see how this pattern will move. All these things, between these things, if it is correctly laid on, how that will actually spurt out, like how the butterfly comes out from the cocoon. So that milestone, if you see, that 0 to 7 is how, like how we receive. It's not only receiving with hands. We want the child to be here in the space. We want that child, right? There is a story which we say as birthday stories in the school. Few birthday stories we we take away, and we say that the child, the angel goes and talks to the God and says, this child wants to move to this earth. God says, no, now not the time. They have to wait. And again, the angel goes and speaks that this child wants to move to the earth. Then God says, no, the time has not come. And now the child goes and tell the angel in the spiritual world that, you see, two of one, men and women, are wanting me to come to that space. And then the angel now goes and talks to God, and God says, yes, the time has come now. Yes, the child in that 7 years wants somebody. They want somebody to be there in this. They want somebody should be expecting us there, and that's one of the first element for the child to enter into that space. They want us. Then God says that's the time. So some children, grandmothers, parents, that they want the space, the children to be filled in that space. And that's what in the 0 to 7 years, full of formings. They want to form, they want to receive, they come, they run. Yesterday when I saw that child, it goes and I'm sitting, my husband is sitting, there was one stranger who was sitting. Child did not even enter our space. She went into the grandmother and grandfather. Continuous happening. Like that, it goes, hit the grandfather. And with that force, it comes and hits the grandmother. Like that, it is swinging its way and round. And in between, the mother is sitting, a little touch of the mother. So the complete energy is being absorbed by the child from those hierarchies to take them for the next life. So, okay. So children dwell with persons who they love, who they want to be there in that space. So they need so much of care, so much of truth and goodness, and so much of that for all the formations of the organs inside, and for all the health bringing forces to work between 0 to 7. 7 to 14 is all beauty, all wonder, all it's all an admiration. They have to respond, and they have to see responsible citizens around the space. So Steiner says 4, 0 to 7, it is not essential that the child should finish even 10th. Yes, but other life lessons has to be strongly imbibed in their soul spirit and also in the physical space. If that learning is there, it's not about other learnings in the earthly space. And even in 7 to 14, he says that teacher should handle all the subjects, whether she knows astronomy, whether she knows maths, or whether she knows science, botany, zoology. Everything should be handled by the same teacher for the spaces 7 to 14. So it's not the learning of subjects. The teacher strives to learn. I can't learn physics, but you have to teach physics when the child comes to 6th. So she learns how to teach physics. Though she is not a physics student, she doesn't like physics. The teacher learns, and in that learning, the children learn a lot of physics. Maybe he might become a physics, like he can take a physics PhD also from a non-physics teacher in grade in between the ages 7 to 14. They need not know music. Teacher need not know anything to teach the children between 7 to 14, but the striving to know, the responsible cities, they have to strive to stand as a responsible human being before the children. That much is enough. That's what Steiner says. That's what I understood. And then after 14 to 21, it's the faculty of awakening. The children should bring, we as teachers and parents should bring such elements so that the awakening happens. Max should be taught so that the awakening happens. A household works. An adolescent will not do an household chores at all, but something has to be brought into them so that it awakens to bring that household work for the adolescent to really do it. So anything which is bringing an awakening, and we have to be so much awakened to be under a teenager. So much awakening happens for us also as an act. So anything which awakens them, they will be able to learn for their lives. And something they are very, so that always between 14 to 21, I've not dealt much in that ages with the children, but for me, deep inside my heart and where I grew my children, it's all about, we have to see where the interest of the child is. Constantly looking in where the interest of the child is. It may change after 6 months, it may change after 2 years. All that we have to wait, pause, and see in a very sharp way how to, like how in Tamil they call thread as nool, and even books are also called as nool. In both the words have the same similar meaning. It's love. It's like how you're taking a thread and putting it inside that needle point. You have to keep keen observing the children, see where is the interest, and we have to just guide and put into the, just allow them to go along with the interest and spark. So they might first initially interest in drums, they may initially interest in max, and suddenly it will drip off. Oh, what is max? Yes. So all that we have to wait and see, and then something flourishes between 17, 18, and 19, and it will be carried for the rest of their lives. So that's my indication of 14 to 21.
Beautifully shared, Akka. Because a lot of times parents have this confusion and they get into a frustration mode when children say, I want to learn this, and after a particular period, they say, I don't want to learn this, I want to learn something else. That fundamental. நீ எது எடுத்தாலுமே வந்து முழுசா முடிக்க மாட்டியா, எல்லாத்துலயும் கை வைக்கிற, அப்புறம் நீ என்னதான் பண்ணுவ அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு கொஸ்டின் வந்து ஒரு பேசிக் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் அந்த சைல்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட்ல இல்லாதங்காட்டி தான் வருது அப்படிங்கறத வந்து ரொம்ப அழகா போர்ட்ரே பண்ணீங்க.
Very young children, you see, between 5 and 7 and 4, no, they want to become JCP drivers, they want to become tractor drivers, they want to become watchmen, they want to become bus drivers, van drivers. All that is very fascinating for them. So we should not be what is this? Will my son want to become a driver? So what? As a human being, you have to be a driver for your life. Yes, you have to
True.
you have to drive your vehicle. You should learn to be a driver. No, that instinct the child is taking. So we should not even unvalue these things when the children bring forth with so much of inspirations from the outside. It's not, I want my son to become a doctor, and why he wants to become a driver is a very, the way of approach what an adult sees is always a foolish approach.
True. And I also hate this question when people ask, what do you want to become in life, to a small child. I think
Yes,
they cannot decide until they are 21. When you shared this example, I just want to share something that happened in our house. And my eldest son, he was just telling his father, Appa, I think you should become a garbage truck driver. And we were like, why? And he was like, see, garbage truck man come at 6 in the morning and they finish their work by 7:30, 8 in the morning. So if you go for that job and you finish that job in the morning, so you're also doing some job, and then rest of the day you can spend time with me. So I think that is the best job you can do.
In these words, no, how the child is wanting that father to do very less work, but he has to do a work, and the remaining time, the need of the parent to be with the child, no, how it comes out, you see.
True.
When we shut off, what is this garbage truck driver? If you get stuck, then nothing happens on the way. Yes.
True. I think we have to be more aware of understanding the inner meaning of what they say rather than just to the words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you so much for close to heart answer, so we can understand what to expect in what age period and how should we be to our children. So moving forward to the next question, there is this term called as early awakening that is constantly used in the Waldorf community. So can you please share about that?
The word early awakening was not so much resonating until I took up this world of pedagogy, and many things really pierced me like a very strong arrow into my heart when I really saw the nuance of how this things what we teach in the very early years affect their health, and what happens as a very tragic part of what is happening in the society is all mostly because of this education was really very very storming, heart storming for me when I went into these things of this early awakening. One factor which really amazed me was Steiner says you should not actually ask the children even what food they need. Yes, that particular word even will become more insecure for the child. So decision is not their time now. Yes, you're not going to open decisions for them. So what not? See, yesterday when or very it's become a common scenario. A 2-year-old child is being pressed to teach. See, what color is this? Tell me, green. They should not tell in Tamil. It should be green. Hey, that child is telling orange. Hey, what is this? Orange. Green. Leaf is green. So like that, nomenclatures fill the children, very young children. Even he says, J. Krishnamurti Steiner speaks very strongly that nomenclatures are not essential even for a high school student. Before nomenclatures, They know, they should really know to observe a plant and observe a flower and observe an animal in a very higher perspective. They should learn to deal with these things in a very subtle way, in a very resonating and a way of wonder, that that particular thing, if it is lost and nomenclatures are given, children are filled, 3-year children, 2-year children, before pregnancy, this early awakening happens with all the so-called modern educational tools. The modern science, the modern educational tools, the modern medicinal tools, all are empowering to bring this early awakening, and that is the greatest disaster of this present world. You have to be very, very mindful of bringing this early awakening of anything, nomenclatures or their writing or their reading or their whatever it is. We should be far, far away from what the child is doing, and better to zip our thoughts and zip our mouth between 0 to 7 and just see what the children are bringing in these zeros. Need not know Waldorf, need not know Montessori, need not know anything. Don't know anything. Just learn to observe and see what the child is doing. Don't give anything from your hands. Don't even spend anything from your pocket for the children between 0 to 7 except under a tree, sand and water. That's what I will really tell about this 0 to 7. If you want to make everything, put it in one box and you want to give it, this is what I will tell. Need not know anything, what technical things or what scientific things or what spiritual things, nothing you need not know. Just don't give any playthings except all these things. All the other kitchen tools and what father is using, that much is enough. Those carton box, the old carton box will turn into many things. Children even will tie a twine and they will pull and make it into a different things with whatever available things, discarded things which they will create.
To be continued.